Hello everyone and welcome to a very nice game that was played in the first match, the first quarterfinal match between Jan-Krzysztof Duda and Hikaru Nakamura of the Chess.com Global Chess Championship Finals, and this is game 4 of their first match. So they will play 2 matches, each consisting of 4 games, and in the first match Hikaru won the first 3 games, and here in the 4th game Duda chose a very interesting approach to the game as he chooses the Bongcloud opening. Now regarding the Bongcloud, the real question is how bad is it? Is it if you play the Bongcloud, if you put your king on e2, is your position dead lost? Now it should be definitely, but I always when I hear stuff like that, I remember some 20-something years ago when I first started learning chess, when I got my first chess book. I remember a line from the Two Knights Defense. I'm sure you all know it. I mean, it's probably the first thing you learn when you start learning chess. Knight f3, knight to c6, bishop c4, knight to f6, and now white goes for knight g5, the so-called knight attack. Black will reply with d5, e captures on d5, and now usually you attack with knight to a5, or you go knight to d4, or knight to b4 even. But most certainly you do not capture with knight captures on d5, because some 20 years ago, if you saw this position, it was known that knight captures on f7 and black just resigns. And there are many lines where black just resigns completely. For example, let's say you capture the knight, queen f3, your king goes here, let's say queen captures, and bishop captures is checkmate. And that's all very nice. You probably won a lot of games like this. But the problem is, after queen to f3 check, yes, you are attacking the knight twice and you are threatening to just win back your piece, and you have a better position. But what if black plays just king e6 and defends the knight? It looks like it breaks every principle known to man about chess, and that you should not be able to play like this. However, it is not clear how to punish this. Of course, if you are an incredibly strong player, you will outplay your opponent from this position. But if you play against a superior opponent, or let alone if you try beating an engine from this position, you will fail miserably. Because, okay, you have some pressure here, the king is on e6, but how to continue this game? Let's say you go knight to c3, you put pressure on the knight, already knight b4 is coming, the knight is now nicely defended, you're already threatening knight captures on c2 with check, let's say white castles, you're going to play c6, defend your knight, and yes, your king is on e6, but you will play some moves, you will bring the queen to f6, offer a queen trade, and white has to prove that he can actually win this position. Now, of course, if you've seen games from the previous era of chess, games of Paul Morphy, games of Adolf Anderssen, if their opponents played such moves, they would of course get crushed. But in modern chess, if our good friend the engine says, yes, it's okay, it's perfectly fine, you can put your king on e6 and have a comfortable game, then we have no choice but to listen to them. But what about the Bongcloud? So Duda opens the game with e3, we have pawn to e5 by Hikaru, and now Duda plays king to e2. Now this is even more disgusting than what I've just shown you, because now you are the whole point of developing your pawn to e3 or e4 is so the queen and bishop have a very natural way of accessing the game. But now by putting the king on e2, you are voluntarily blocking your entire development, and white very quickly runs out of moves. So how does Hikaru punish this? He plays pawn to d5. He grabs the full center, and why not? Duda allows it. And now there are even some classical games that reach this position where d3 and queen to e1 was played, but here Duda plays pawn to d4, and it is now as of move 3 that we have a completely new game. And okay, you could consider capturing, captures to open up the white king's position, but as Hikaru is already up 3-0, he just continues development. He says, okay, you can't play like this, I don't have to rush this or find some sort of a clean win, you're just gonna fail miserably. So knight to c3, knight f6 by Hikaru, we have f3, you have to create some squares for your king, because as long as the king is on e2, you've already basically finished your development. You can't develop the queen, the bishop, the knight. I mean, it's terrible. So bishop to d6, we have king to f2, a must move, we have castles, and now knight g to e2. We have queen to e7 by Hikaru, just putting pieces on optimal squares, and now knight to b5. We have bishop to b4, not allowing the knight to capture the bishop, pawn to c3, bishop a5, and now pawn to a4, trying to trap the bishop with b4 and a5. So Hikaru just shifts it over to b6, and now pawn to h3, taking away the g4 square, once again from black's pieces. A6 chases away the knight, knight a3, and now knight to e8. Hikaru is now ready to start pushing further in the center with pawn to f5. We have pawn to b4 by Duda, knight to d6, and now pawn to g3. Give Duda like 15 more moves and he will even castle kingside. We have rook to e1 and now rook to a2. This is a very nice move. The rook will be much more useful on the second rank, and also it's very difficult to develop it as long as it's on the first rank. Plus, in the future, if the position ever opens up on the king side, you might even shift it over to attack the black king. That's a weird arrow, I know. So queen to f6 by Hikaru, we have king to g2, and now bishop to f5. The bishop could also be developed to d7 if you don't want to allow any g4 with tempo, but Hikaru says not a problem. So g4, bishop to g6, and now knight to g3. And already you can sense that Duda's position is improving a little bit. The knight, okay, still on a3, the rook can be shifted over to the king side if needed. The bishop can be developed to d3 to counter Hikaru's bishop on g6. So Hikaru is still better here, of course, but he has to play very precise moves. And here he plays pawn to h5. It's a pawn sacrifice aimed at attacking the white king, but it's also a move that completely or maybe close to completely levels the game if Duda continues the game properly. But this is also one of the reasons why humans cannot play against, humans cannot play like engines. Here you have to completely ignore that your king is on g2 and you have to voluntarily open up the g file. But this will be used to attack the black king, not the white king. Now this was not played in the game, but this is what you have to play. If you already want to play like an engine, then you have to think like an engine. Bishop to h7, a5 attacks the bishop, bishop a7, and now king to h2. And now look at this. With the semi-open g file, the rook can come to g1. The other rook can come to g2. If black ever captures here to open up the position, your bishop is already freed up to help with the attack on the black king. The pawn is coming to h6. I mean, it's just a very nice position for white. Black is still better here, but this is the way to play. However, Duda tried rook to g1, and now Hikaru, I believe he was very happy here, advances the pawn to h4, because he knows that g captures on h5 will be a problem for him. So h4, and now knight to e2. And now all of those ideas that we discussed with the semi-open g file no longer exist, and now Duda is just in a much worse position. Rook 8 to d8 was played, bishop to d2, and now knight to c4. Hikaru offering a trade of knights, which you pretty much have to accept, but then the pawn comes to c4, and you create an outpost for your bishop on d3. So knight captures on c4, d captures pawn to a5, and now bishop to a7. We have queen to e1, and now comes bishop to d3. Interestingly, okay, this is a rapid game, so you don't have all the time in the world to think about what you will play. I will just show it because I know you guys like seeing fun lines. Here you can just blast through with e captures on d4. For example, e captures, now even bishop captures on d4. And look at this, c captures, knight captures, and what is white to do here? There's no way you can survive this if bishop comes to d3. Also, if you play something like queen to f2, even knight captures on f3 can be played. Look at this, disgusting. If queen captures, bishop e4, and white can just resign. But okay, after queen e1, Hikaru just slowly mounts pressure, bishop to d3, we have queen to f2, and now knight to e7. We have knight to c1, puts pressure on the bishop, and bishop captures on f1. Rook captures, and now knight to d5. So again, just slowly building the pressure. And again, Duda could grab some initiative here by advancing the pawn to e4. If knight f4, then you're gonna capture, queen captures, and now knight e2, you kick away the queen, and after the queen moves, let's say queen h6, now you play rook to d1, and all of a sudden white is alive. But after knight d5, Duda played knight to e2, and now queen to e7 by Hikaru. We have rook to e1, and now pawn to c6. So Hikaru really slow playing this, and you can't blame him. He's up 3-0 in the match, and he wants to play normal chess. He just doesn't want to blunder anything because it's best of 2 matches, and they will play 4 more games. So even if Duda loses terribly, he still wants to maximize his profit from the first match. Rook to b2 by Duda. And now we have e captures on d4. We have knight captures on d4, and now queen to f6. Rook b to b1, and now pawn to g6. We have king to h1, and now rook to d7. Rook to e2, we have bishop captures on d4, and now e captures on d4. You could also play c captures, then you allow c3, bishop to e1, and it looks, well, it just looks very, very bad for white, but maybe white can still hold this. However, after e captures on d4, it is just over. It is, you can win this by force. Rook captures on e2, queen captures, rook to e7, attacks the queen, queen f2, and now knight to f4, attacking the h3 pawn, going for knight to d3. So you kind of have to capture the knight, so bishop captures, queen captures, and now rook to f1. As you know, rook to e3 is coming, so the f3 pawn should be protected, but still, what do you do about the c3 pawn? This will just give Hikaru a passed c pawn. Queen captures on h4, we have rook captures on c3, and now queen to d8 with check. We have king to g7, king to g2, and now rook to c2 with check. Rook f2, rook captures, king captures, and now pawn to c3. And it was in this position on move 44 that Jan-Krzysztof Duda resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done. c2 is coming, and then c1 is already guarded by the black queen, and you cannot stop promotion of the pawn, and you can't give any checks, so that's all there is. But as you've seen, there were many chances for Duda to seize initiative, especially this was such a wonderful opportunity after Hikaru pushed that pawn to h5, but Duda just missed it here. Just open up the position. The h5 pawn is guarded, and then all of the possibilities are there. But now, after allowing Hikaru to advance the pawn all the way to h4, any counterplay Duda might have had, just disappeared along with Hikaru's pawn from h5. So really interesting stuff. You can see that it's not all that clear how to punish the Bongcloud. Even Hikaru, who I believe has even studied the Bongcloud, as he's a true student of the game, was unable to punish it by force. But one of the reasons being that this is speed chess, and also he's winning the match by a huge margin. But it's not, I mean, you have to be careful. But on the other hand, if you want to try and play like an engine, it is possible. It's just that in positions like that, you have to also do what the engine would do. You have to open up your king. You have to say, like in that position that we discussed here, after king captures on f7 and queen to f3 check, you go king e6 and you say, this is perfectly fine. I'm okay here. I mean, my king is such a strong piece here, fighting for the center, helping out my pieces. This is good chess. But yeah, of course, when you play against someone who is as strong as Hikaru, pulling off the Bongcloud would be a spectacular feat. However, here it just wasn't Duda's day. But yeah, if you guys want to try it out, you're welcome to do so, because sometimes when your opponents see you put your king on e2, they will just lash out. They will throw everything at you at once, but it's not possible to just crush your opponent like that. If you play good moves, you will be able to defend, and then your opponent might overcommit a little bit, and you will be able to even win the game easily. Who knows? But yeah, very interesting to see this played at the absolute highest level by the candidates of the World Chess Championship, Jan-Krzysztof Duda and Hikaru Nakamura. In the second match, Hikaru only had to get a draw from the 4 games that were played, and Duda even started by winning the first game. Then Duda won the second game, and it looked like Duda was about to achieve maybe an impossible comeback from a 4-0 downfall, but then Hikaru just ended Duda's streak in game 3, and then he won their quarterfinal match. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be careful if you play the Bongcloud, but be even more careful if you face the Bongcloud. It's not as easy as it seems. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Jacobi, Goncalo Marovo, Martin Georg Paparik, Sofus Verson Fine, and Seshadri Subramanian for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.